Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be with you in a minute. Just give us another 60 seconds to get some people to sign. Thanks. Okay, good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the Road to Financial Freedom, week 4. I want to thank you for taking the opportunity to spend some time with us this afternoon as we continue this teaching on financial freedom. Again, my name is Ralph Hastings-Spaine. I'm financial strategist and trainer with Simplified Wealth Builders. And as I always say every week, I'm humbled that you decide to participate with us this Saturday. Financial Simplified Wealth Builders, we're a financial education company, and we do interactive workshops and we help design financial plans for our clients, teaching them strategies where they can build and grow their wealth and be able to transfer it to the next generation. So we're excited about the work that we do, and we're looking forward to helping a lot more people do that. Today, we will have my friend, my brother, Minister Antonio Cheeks, and he's going to continue his teaching on self-leadership. Last week, he taught about the A of shape, and this week he's going to talk about the P of shape. So it's going to be an exciting training that he's going to have today. So just sit tight and wait for Minister Antonio Cheeks as he talks about the P of shape. Again, every week I have to start with our quote for the series. And that quote is this quote by Benjamin Franklin that says, "It is by managing our finances that you write the story of your life. You're both the author and the story's principal character. Resolve to perform what you ought." So in the last week, we looked at, just to review, we taught on principle number 5, which was know the rules, and we talked about some rules about investment, rules regarding to savings and risk. And we also talk about principle 8, which was note that the rules change. And I mentioned 2 laws that were passed recently, the tax law of 2017 and the Secure Act of 2020, which change a lot of things regards to taxes and investments and savings and all of those things that affect us on a day-to-day basis. So I'll pause a minute. If somebody has any question or something you want to ask or say about any of those teachings, you can just type that in on the chat box. And if you do, and if you don't, I will move on to our principle for today. Okay. I see no questions about last week's the principles from last week or any of the previous ones. So my assumption is I'm doing so well that you guys are getting everything. That's why you don't have too many questions, right? So today we're going to get into principle number 7, which is taxation. Last week I mentioned about taxation when I spoke about some of the risk to your financial freedom. So today I want to get a little deeper on the reasoning. Most of you intuitively said last week that you think taxes are going to go up in the future. You know, I see taxes, and my definition of taxes is that the price we pay for government services, right? That's what we pay the government for the services that they render to us. The only challenge is that they control the price, so they can change the price anytime they feel like doing it. So um, you've seen this chart before, but today what I want to highlight about it is the portion of this chart that says 40% of our income. So for every dollar that we earn, 4 cents, 40 cents of that dollar goes to pay taxes. And I'm not just talking about federal taxes, right? Federal, state, municipalities, county taxes, gas tax, entertainment tax, everything we do, we pay tax on for it. So when you combine all those taxes that you pay, you're spending close to 40% of your income in taxes. So let's see why. Let's try to understand and see why. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the debt clock, but this is a screenshot of the debt clock that I took 2 days ago, really. So what I would do is, let me see if I can bring up the debt clock as it is going right now, right? So let me just share that. I don't like to do that, but it gets your eyes moving in a lot of places because the numbers are changing so fast. So what I will do is, let me go back to the screenshot and just use that as I explain certain things. So the US debt as of 2 days ago was $28 trillion. That was the US debt, $28 trillion, right? So if you look at this chart, it tells you what are the top budget items that comprise the US debt: Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, defense. So the big three things in the budget are things that are really the government cannot do too much about. If you look at our national debt to our GDP, the GDP, gross domestic product, is all the products and services that are generated in the US. In 1980, the ratio was 34.55%. In 2000, it was 58%. Currently, it's about 129%. So basically, our debt is greater than the amount of resources that we produce, our GDP. Let's look at some facts. The national debt in 2008 was at $10 trillion. There are some other numbers, but just a round figure, $10 trillion. So think about that. From 1776, when the US was founded, to 2008, a period of 232 years, the national debt grew to $10 trillion. In 2021, April of 2021, the national debt is at $28 trillion. The national debt grew $18 trillion in the last 13 years. Think about that. It took us 232 years to get to $10 trillion. And in the last 13 years, we've added $18 trillion to the national debt. And this number doesn't include some of the things that are going to be added with some of the new laws that are coming on. So what is a trillion? What is a trillion? Have you ever pictured that in your mind's eye? What is $1 trillion? So let me see if I can paint a picture for you to understand. What year was it 1 trillion seconds ago? Every day, 86,400 seconds. That's how many seconds we have in a day. In every year, we have 31,533,000 seconds. 1 trillion seconds was 31,688 years ago. So picture that in your mind, how big 1 trillion is. Let me see if I can paint another picture. If you take $1 billion in $100 bills, they would go around a high school track 5 times to equal to $1 trillion. If that didn't make sense to you, let me say this. Maybe this might make might understand it a little bit better. If you spend $31.5 million every year for the next 32,000 years, you would have spent $1 trillion. If you spend 31.5, it's incredible to think about this. If you spend $31.5 million every year, it would take you 32,000 years to spend $1 trillion. So sometimes, we hear these words, a trillion, and it just seems like they're talking about, a penny, but it is a lot of money. So there are only 2 ways to combat the growing debt. One is for the government to spend less, and the second is for them to tax more. So let's think about it. Government spend less or tax more? Where are you going to hedge your bet on? Are we spending less as a government? No. We are spending more than we've ever had in the history of the nation. As I showed you earlier, it took us 232 years to get to $10 trillion in debt. And in the last 13 years, we've added, $18 trillion to the debt. So the only solution that seems possible is that we're going to have higher taxes. Spend less, taxes, or higher taxes. And higher taxes seem to be the only solution that we have. So let's look at some tax history, right? This is a chart from 1913 when the IRS was formed and tax started to 2018. And if you look at this chart, you can see where taxes, the top marginal tax rates have been, the percentage. The red line there shows you anything that is above 30, 37, 39%, right? So you can see from history that there are times when the taxes have gone up, like in 1942, 41, 42, the taxes was close to 92% as the top tax bracket. Are we going to get to that anytime soon? I don't know. But if the government has done that before, guess what? They can do it again. And our debt was not that high, but in the 1940s, they had to finance a war, so they had to raise taxes, right? So look at that. Will Rogers, the satirist, I like his saying, he has several of them, but I like this one. He said the difference between debt and taxes is debt doesn't get worse every time Congress meets. Ooh, boy. So let's look about some other facts about our national debt. In 2009, when the Social Security would still send statements out. They don't do it anymore. You have to log in and create an account on their website to do that now. They would send a statement out. This was a statement they sent out in 2009. And this was what that paragraph said, that in 2017, we will be paying more in benefits than we collect in taxes. Without changes by 2041, the Social Security Trust Fund will be exhausted, and there will be enough money to pay only about 78 cents for every dollar of scheduled benefit. We need to resolve these issues soon to make sure Social Security continues to provide a foundation of protection for future generations. In the class I did 2 weeks ago, I talked about almost 47% of people depending on Social Security as their only source of retirement. Social Security said that 2017, which was almost 4 years ago, that the Social Security was in trouble. And they've been saying this for a while. And when I showed you the death clock, we saw that Social Security is one of the big 3 budget items for the government. So if the government are going to meet all these obligations that they have to meet with regards to Social Security, we know taxes are definitely going to go up in the future. Or else, like they say here, they might cut benefits, right? So instead of getting $1, you'll get 78 cents for the dollar that you should have gotten. So benefits might go down. So let's just examine taxation a little bit. There are 4 phases of taxation, 4 times that we get taxed. We get taxed on our contributions, right? Money that you put in an account, you get taxed into it because when you receive your paycheck, the government has already taxed you on it. So the money is taxed before you save it. That's your seed. When your money grows, you get taxed on it. If you have money in a savings account and they pay you interest on the money, at the end of the year, you get a 1098, you have to pay taxes on it. If you had a mutual fund that grew, you have to pay taxes on it. Anything that had growth, you had to pay taxes on it. And then distribution. When you decide to start accessing it, to start using it, you have to pay taxes on it, right? Your 401k, once it grows and you start living out of it, you have to pay taxes on it. And then on transfer, when you die and you want to transfer that asset to your family, taxes go on top of it. You have to pay taxes on it. Some inheritance tax, some in some states, estate taxes. So it differs from state to state and all of that. But these are the 4 phases where we are taxed. So when it comes to your retirement, when you retire, your income is going to be in one of 2 buckets, either in a taxable bucket or in a tax-free bucket. So what is a taxable retirement income bucket? What is in there? What is in that bucket? So let's see what are the things in that bucket. If you own stocks, if you own mutual funds, if you sell a business and a business interest, and you have real estate, all of those go into that bucket. If you get income from that, those are capital gains taxes, right? So those are part of your taxable retirement bucket. The other source of taxable retirement in the bucket, wages. If you're working, you pay income tax. Your Social Security, depending on your level of income that you earn, some of your Social Security is taxable. Your IRAs, your SEP, your Simple, your 401k, your 403b, all of these are part of that bucket, your taxable income bucket. And as you can see, it's a lot of things in that bucket. So what else is left? What else is left that is not in the taxable bucket? Well, in the tax-free bucket for retirement, there are only 3 things in there that can go in there. Municipal bonds, right, which you don't pay federal tax on, Roth IRA or Roth 401k, and life insurance cash value. Those are the 3 things that you find in the tax-free retirement income bucket. So let's examine. Let me ask you a question. Where would you want your money to be? Taxable retirement income, or do you want your income in a tax-free retirement income bucket. Let me see. I have a poll, so let me launch this poll, and then and you can answer me through that so I can see. So, what bucket would you want your retirement money? In the taxable bucket or in the tax-free bucket? So, if you can take some time to answer that, I'll appreciate that and see. Okay. Tax-free. So nobody wants taxable. Mm. Okay. So I'm gonna end the poll, and then I'm just gonna show the share the result. So 100% of you said you want your money in a tax-free bucket. Great, great. So I will help you and talk to you about that in the next, as I teach on the next principle. So what I want to do right now is I want to introduce my brother and friend, Minister Antonio Cheeks, who is going to teach us about the P of shape. So we've done S, H, A, and today he's going to teach about the P. So Minister Cheeks, if you're ready, I can move on, or if you need a minute, you can take your minute.
No, sir, I'm ready,
You
man.
ready? Okay.
Yeah, I
All
can
right.
go ahead and get started. But
Okay.
as always, I wanted to, man, just mind blowing information you got here when it comes to, how we're doing things with our money and the taxes, the laws that you went through the other week about the new laws. Some of those things actually was things that I could use personally, and
Yeah.
so I just appreciate what you're doing here. So let's just do a recap of what we've done so far. So far, we're going through the shape process. And so far in the shape process, we did the S, which was this magical word, this magical word called sagacity, being sagacious about our money. And that basically was just, if you recall, if you were here over the weeks, it's just really about being having some discernment about how we use our money and how we save our money and how we are functioning with our money. It's what happens with our money is a form of our self leadership, and so that's why I really appreciate what's going on here in this training over the weeks. Then we got into the H, and the H was really surrounding our heart or having a healthy heart. And when we talked about having a healthy heart, we were basically not talking about the heart that pumps blood, but we were talking about the heart of who we are, our mind, our will, and our emotions, and how, when we, especially the emotional part, when it comes to spending, spending money, what are we spending it based on need or emotions? And uh, Ralph has personally helped me with some of that stuff when it comes to, buying clothing and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe in another segment he'll talk about how he buys clothes and things like that because he's always looking sharp. So that was the H. Then we went into the A, which was actually taking some action. It's one thing to see all this information, and information is very rich, but it's another thing to take action, and that's we talked about discipline action. So that brings us to today. Today, once we start taking our actions, sometimes we won't see things come back. We won't see the fruit of our action right away. So this is when we're going to have some perseverance. Perseverance, the ability to keep moving forward in spite of what we see in front of us, in spite of what we see in front of us, in spite of what the market is doing, in spite of what the news is saying. We have decided to have perseverance as we move through. So I'm going to walk through. There's a scripture that is often quoted when it comes to setting goals and making plans, and that's in Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2:2 is where people normally are at. And but the first part of it, in the 2:2 part, it says, write the vision clearly, clearly. write the vision, and I'm looking at it. Depends on what version you're looking at, but I'm gonna go between two different versions. But it says write the vision and make it plain and scribe it on tablets. So the stuff that you're hearing today, I mean, don't just take it through the ears. Actually, I hope some of us, me included, are actually taking these notes down and actually setting our plans for our finances. So it can be easily read, or someone else can easily follow it. And so what we're talking about here is also doing some things that's going to help create our legacy and also be able to impact generations to come. So when they can see that you had certain principles and practices that you put in place, and they can easily, clearly follow those principles, you're in the process of leaving a great legacy. But here's the part that's on the screen that I really want to focus on, and this is where we get kind of tripped up in our perseverance. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time." For an appointed time, I mean, it's not happening right now. It's going to happen sometime. It's going to happen later. But at the end, but at the end, uh, we speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, though it feels as if it's lingering, though it feels that it's lingering, you're watching your accounts, and you're like, man, that's a hard 3%. Is not growing like I thought it would. But it's tarrying. But it says to wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So when we talk about time, we're thinking about our time, our human time. But if you're talking about the Lord's time, that could be an instance what we feel like is taking several years. To God is like but a drop, but a second. But I tell you, I've been hanging out with Ralph for a good little while now, and I consider him a brother. And we've seen uh, people like, he shared some of his clients, and when they see, the time when they actually stay with the plan and have perseverance all the way through, that things do work out. If you do the right things, you can have I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you can have market security, meaning that no matter what the market is doing, wouldn't it be nice to know that you are secure? It may seem like it's tarrying, but it will come to pass. So I would just say, for you and I to be patient and watch the miracle. Set your financial plan, set it together, and then sit back and watch God miraculous miracle. Uh, and look at the miracle of time and compounding interest, and see how that works in your favor. That's one of the marvelous, what they say, it's like one of the seven wonders of the world or something like that. Someone quoted, but starting now is the time to start. And although it tarries, don't give up. Just let it wait. Have perseverance. Take action. Make a plan. Take action. You know, uh, just follow all the steps we've been going through over these last couple of weeks. We have one more week together, and Ralph has a lot of good information. I've been giving you the shape of what we should do in this season. So I hope you take all this information to heart and implement it. But man, you got to have a little bit of faith with works. So you got to do something. You got to take action as well. So I'm going to conclude with that, and I'm going to let Ralph continue blessing us with what he's doing. And this is not something that he's just, picked up as a whim. This is something that Ralph, I know, is personally passionate about, and it's part of his very fiber of who he is. And so, again, this thank you, Ralph, for sharing this information, and continue with your success in helping others. And that's the thing. I know you have a heart for helping others. So I just want to thank you for that. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate that. I appreciate our relationship, and how we, we support and mentor each other. Appreciate that. So let me move on to the next principle, which I call banking principles. Principle number 8. Principle number 8, banking principles. So let me ask a question. Where do banks and the affluent keep their money? Where do banks and the affluent keep their money? Some of you might be surprised, but let me see. I say, what do advisors to the wealthy 10% know that your CPA or your financial advisor does not know? Somebody says stock and investment. Okay, that's a good answer. Let me see if I can change your mind about that. The Wall Street Journal published an article and it says, according to the Federal Reserve, 28% of this, 22% of this asset is owned by the wealthiest 1% in the US. But it's a trust account. Yeah, well, that's a vehicle to save it, but we're actually working for that, right? So the Federal Reserve says 22% of this asset is owned by the wealthiest 1% in the US. And when you think about the wealthiest 1%, these are the billionaires, right? And that 55% of all this asset is owned by the wealthiest 10%. So now you include the multimillionaires and the millionaires in that. They own 55% of this asset. So the question is, do you know about this? Who else invests in them? Banks. Bank of America at the end of December 2019 had $22 billion in these assets. Wells Fargo 19, JP Morgan Chase 11.66, Citibank $5.23 billion. Why are banks putting so much money in this asset? For some banks, they have more money in this asset than they have in real estate. Let me see if this guy can answer the question for us. Why do banks find BOLI, which stands for bank-owned life insurance, such an attractive tier one asset? Tier one asset meaning it's the top level of assets that a bank can have their money in. Barry Dyke says, if an insurance company has $1 million on deposit, that company may loan no more than $982,000, and usually only a fraction of that. As such, life insurers are 100% reserve-based lenders, which makes them stable institution in down economy. You remember when I talked about the market, and I talked about Warren Buffett's rule of money. Rule number one, never lose money. Rule number two, never forget rule number one. A gentleman like Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, he's fully has most of his money in these vehicles. He owns these companies where this type of money is being saved. You see, banks make money several ways, but one of the ways to make money is what is called fractional reserve lending. Basically, what the banks do, the banks are allowed. So if they have $1 in deposit, they can make $10 out in loans for that $1 in deposit that they have. So that's called fractional reserve lending, right? They have $1 in deposit and they can loan $10 out because they don't anticipate everybody coming at the same time to take their money out. They take your money from the bank, right? So they are allowed to do that. So banks use a lot of leverage. That is why when there are economic challenges, like in 2008, you saw banks failing because some of them are so leveraged out that when there's a turmoil in the economy, they lose. They have to they close down. FDIC has to come in and take over and do all of these things. In 2008, I don't know if any of you knew this, but there was no life insurance company that failed in 2008. No life insurance company was bailed out because they don't do leveraging. If they have $1, they're going to loan you 90 cents. They're not going to even loan you the whole dollar. So my question is, if the wealthy in our society are using it, if the big banks are using it, why are you not? Do you know something that they don't know? Most of the time, I don't think that is the reason. I think it's the other way. I think for most people, they don't know about it because no one has told you about it. Or even if you've heard about it, you don't understand how it works. You might have a misunderstanding about it. So for a lot of people, even though the wealthiest in our society, the big banks in our society, this is where they put their money, and we have the opportunity to do the same. We never do it because we've nobody has talked to us about it, or we have a misunderstanding of how it works. So I'm going to try to, in my own way, the short time that we have, to give you some information on that and hopefully get you thinking differently about that. So just to recap, when it comes to tax-free bucket, there are only three things you can have in your tax-free bucket: municipal bonds, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, cash value life insurance. And all of them operate under IRS rules. So this is not somebody making the rule. All of them function under rules that the IRS has set up for them to function under. So 100% of you, when I did a poll and asked, where would you want your money? Tax bucket, a taxable bucket or tax-free bucket, you said you want tax-free. So if you want tax-free, these are the three options you have: municipal bond, Roth, cash value life insurance. So let me see. Let's say there was a perfect investment. There was a perfect investment product. This is what I think it would look like. It would have 100% liquidity. That means you can go in anytime and take your money. You have to wait, or there's no penalty to take your money. 100% liquidity. Safety, there is no market risk. You won't lose any of your money in it. You put your money, you will never lose anything. Expenses, no cost or really low cost in expenses. Returns, you can have unlimited returns. Taxation, it's tax efficient. Tax efficient putting your money in, it's tax efficient when you take your money out, right? And the sixth thing is that you can put as much money as you want into it. That is the perfect, I think those are the characteristics of a perfect investment product. But it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's nothing in the market where you can have 100% liquidity, safety, no market risk, no expenses, unlimited return. It's tax efficient going in and coming out, and unlimited contribution. There's nothing like that. But what if there are things that come closer to perfection, to that perfection? They're not perfect. They might not have one or two of those things, but they come closer. How do you know that? One of the things we do what is called a list set score analysis. So we will look at liquidity, safety, expenses, return, taxation, and contribution limit across different asset classes. So we'll look at real estate, mutual funds, stocks, annuities, life insurance, give them a score for liquidity, safety, expense, return, taxation, contribution, and see which one has a higher score, right? And even though it's not perfect, but it's closer to perfection, closer to the perfect asset class. So you're able to evaluate and make an educated decision as to why you're doing something. Let me compare a couple asset classes for you so you can see. Let's say a young lady at age 45, right? She has the option of an IRA, Roth, or LUP, Life Insurance Retirement Program. And at age 65, she has $1 million in the account. And now she wants to live off that money, to take it to, to enjoy retirement till age 100. From the traditional IRA, that $1 million will give her an annual income of $51,825. And the assumption there is that all of them earn 6% return, right? So from the traditional IRA, because when she takes the money out from a traditional IRA, she has to pay taxes on it. So what she has to spend for herself is $51,825. If that $1 million was in a Roth account, she will get $69,000 every year till age 100. So that is about $18,000 more in the Roth than in the traditional. But if that money was in the life insurance retirement program, she will get $91,000 a year till age 100. So compared to the traditional account, the LUP, or the life insurance retirement program, produces almost $40,000 more in income a year for this young lady. By age 100, that is an equivalent of over $1.3 million. And I can say, as I talk to clients and I talk to people that are interested, that most people don't even know what a LUP is, or what is life insurance retirement, how it works, and the different things that can happen. Because as far as we know, as soon as we hear the word life insurance, we think, oh, okay, somebody wants to kill me, or I just need enough. So if I die, my family can, they can bury me. They don't have to spend money and all of that. But what a lot of us don't realize is that our banks, the big banks, and our wealthy citizens have been using them for generations as a way to create, preserve, and transfer wealth to the next generation. So let me show you some of the characteristics of an IUL, in Index Universal Life Insurance. It offers you tax-deferred growth, meaning the interest that you earn within the plan, you don't have to pay taxes. So it grows tax-deferred, just like it will in an IRA or 401k or any of those type of vehicles, tax-deferred. And it offers you tax-free distribution. Because when you're taking the money out, properly structured, you don't have to pay taxes on the money you take out. That's why on the Roth and the IRA, as we saw in the previous slide, you compared to the insurance program, you're getting 40,000 more because you don't have to pay taxes. Competitive return. The example that I used here was at 6%, and that you can get competitive return without taking the risk. High contribution, you can contribute as much into it. There's a limit on how much you can put in an IRA. It's $6,000. You can't put 7,000. Well, if you're over 50, then you can put up to 7,000, but you can't put more than that. If you're contributing to your 401k, you can't contribute more than 19,500. But what if you want to put more than that? You're limited. With this, you can contribute as high as you want. And it also has additional benefits. Like if you get sick and need a place to have money, critical illness, you have a stroke or heart attack, it has all those additional benefits. Collateral opportunity, right? And that's why business people like it, because if they need to go, do a deal and they need a place to get money, they can get it without going through the hassle of doing a loan application form and all the things, credit report and all of that. It's safe harbor. Creditors cannot get to it. If you have a money in a mutual fund and you have creditors and take you to court and you lose, they can get your money. They cannot get the one in your retirement account, right? Because the law forbids that. But similarly, so the money in this program, it's safe from creditors. No loss provision. You're never going to lose your money in it. Guaranteed loan provision. If you need to take money out of it, it's guaranteed to happen. Unstructured loan program. And this is one of the features that a lot of people love about it, especially people in business. Because when you go buy a car and you have a car note, they tell you how much you need to pay. Your payment is $500 and you need to send them $500 every month. If you miss a couple of months, the guy repos your car. But in this vehicle, if you take a loan and you don't want to make a payment for the next 2 years, that's fine. Because you have collateral, there's collateral against that. You can send in $200 or you can send in your $500 if you choose to, right? Because it's unstructured. And you have liquidity, use, and control. Liquidity. And for businesses, if for some people have businesses, it can even be a tax deductible contribution. So think about all these benefits that you see, that you can have, and compare to some of the other places that you might be putting money. So what I want to do is I'm going to walk you through an example. I created an example that I want to walk you through. So let me bring that up here and share the screen. Okay. So what I did here, I just took a 30-year-old young male and wants to start saving for retirement, and you can put $19,000 a year away, right? That's the max. That's what you can put in your 401k plan. So I says, okay, let's see if we can put it in here. You're going to contribute $19,000. Well, in this program, immediately the deposit at 19,000. I'm just using an annual figure to, so the numbers are not too many numbers in there, right? 19,000 a year. Immediately, they have a debt benefit of $832,908. So if the week, 2 weeks later, a month, a year later, this young man should pass, his family will get $832,000 for putting in $19,000. It's debt benefit. He continues to put money into this account. So I'm going to move it up. So by age 40, they've contributed, that's 10 years, they've contributed 190,000 into the account. Their debt benefit is now $1 million. They have a surrender value, so if they want to get out of it, of $222,000. By age 50, they've contributed $380,000. Their debt benefit is $1.5 million if they pass. Their surrender value is now $691,000. So they've almost doubled what they've put into the plan. Move them to age 60. At age 60, they've contributed $570,000. Their debt benefit, if they pass, is $2.3 million. If they want to surrender the thing, they can take out $1.5 million. So now they get to age 67, right? Which is if you're 30 today, your Social Security retirement age is 67. They start to take income. They need this as income to live off. So at age 68, they start taking money out of this account. They're not making any more contributions to it. The total contributions they made was $703,000. And now, beginning age 62, they can take $186,000, $732 every year, tax-free. They contributed $19,000 every year. Now they can take $186,000 every year, tax-free, age 68. By age 75, they have taken collectively $1.49 million in income out of this vehicle, and they contributed $703,000. If they die at age 75, their family gets $3.3 million death benefit. Think about that. For $783,000, that's a total benefit. If you look at death, 3.3, and how much they've taken out, 1.4. What's that? Almost 4.7, $4.8 million in benefit to them. Age 80, they've taken over $2.24 million. The death benefit is still $3.2 million. So they live long. They got good health, good genes. By age 100, at age 100, look at that. They would have taken out $6.1 million tax-free. It's crazy. $6.1 million tax-free. And all they contributed was $703,000. If they die at the age of 100, their family still gets $1.6 million. I don't know. Every time I show this, people say, "What? Is this possible?" Yes, it is possible, because it's illegal. It's legal. So if it's possible, because you do it under the guidance of the IRS rules, and it's available to everybody. Everybody can have and do this. You just have to decide that you want to do it. So as I finish here, let me just close here. And now I might have some questions. But as I finish here, let me just with that, I'll show you this chart, because the company that I used in that illustration, this is a return that particular vehicle had done, right? You remember last week when I talked about average versus average return versus actual return, right? That every time you have a negative, it changes what the average is. The average doesn't make much sense anymore, right? But in this vehicle, because you are when the market is on a negative, you don't lose anything. You can see 2005, when the market was down, you didn't lose anything. You just didn't earn any interest, right? 2008, you see the same thing. But you can look at some of the returns: 9%, 4%, 8%, 7%, 12, 10, 7%, 22%, 19%. And if you look on this chart on the right, you can see the red line is the S&P, and the blue line is this life insurance retirement program. You can see how steady and sure it goes. Because for somebody who was going to retire in 2020 and 2008, and the market took that dip, it's affected your income. And if you start taking money when your market is down, there's another risk that I didn't talk about called sequence of return risk. So imagine you lost 20% in the market, or in that year, which was 2008, the negative was 38% in the market, and then you have to take money for you to leave. So that withdrawal that you make compounds the effect of that 38% loss. And that is why every time you have a loss and you're taking money out of your investments, the effect is compounded because of of those distributions that you make. So you can see, staying with the market, giving you the return, but you don't have to take all the risk. And it will get you to where you want to go, safe and sure. So as I finish here, I'll just bring up one of my polls because I need to get some feedback and just know where everyone is. Let me stop that. Let me go to my last poll. So there are two questions here. So if you can respond, I'll appreciate that. What percent of your current income will you need at retirement? 50%, 70, 75, 100? Okay, we have a few more seconds, so if you can respond, I appreciate that. Okay, so let me end the poll and just look at the responses that we have. Okay, 75. Somebody says they will need 75% of their income, and most of you said 100%. And then when it comes to where you have your money, some of you have it in a tax-free bucket, which is great. And some of you have it in a taxable bucket. So that means you have to start thinking of strategies to move from a taxable bucket to a tax-free bucket, because there are strategies to do that. So let me just stop that. That was great information. So as I close, one of the things there is a book. Let me turn on my video. It's called Tax-Free Retirement. It's a great book. I think everybody should have it. So what we're going to do at the end, when we finish our session, our last session next week, anyone who schedules a free consultation will send you the book for free. That'll be our gift to you. You get it for free. We'll mail it out to you, because I think it would help you in all the things that we've talked about in the last 4 weeks to start to reorient yourself towards thinking about taxes and the effect on your retirement, and how you should start to make some changes in some of the things that you do. Because one thing I know, I don't know when, but taxes are definitely going to go higher than we can tolerate. Okay? Because when government raise taxes, and sometimes if you know or don't know, they do not only change the percentages. What they also do is change the brackets. So for example, they'll say people that are paying 10%, if you make $0 to $10,000 a year, you're in a 10% bracket. If you make $10,001 to your certain bracket. So what they will do, they will shrink those brackets. So they will take it from saying, okay, if you make $0 to $2,000, then you're in a 10% bracket. But if you make more than $2,000, now you're in a 15% tax bracket, right? So that is how they play. They play with the percentages and they play with the numbers in the bracket. So I know for a fact with the way things are going, because because of some of the things that I deal with, I was shocked, when I had somebody on the news said that the um, the infrastructure bill, how much is it? $2 or $3 trillion is too small. It has to be $10 trillion. I said, what, 10? Think about it. It took us 232 years to get the national debt to $10 trillion. And now in 1 year, somebody wants to make it $10 trillion just in 1 year. Wow. So that tells me that our future, our kids' future, we're just leveraging it out, man. We just leveraging it. So we have to do things to protect ourselves, right? Because IRS has some rules that we can benefit from, but we have to understand them and do the things we need to do to protect our assets so that when we die, we transfer them to our kids. They don't have to, tax doesn't have to take it all. It can go to them tax-free and all of that. So again, I appreciate the time that you spend with me. And we are going to, I'm going to send out the book once, you can get on our website, or you can get through, Facebook or WhatsApp, reach out and let's schedule a time to meet. Again, I want to thank you for your time and for connecting. If you have any questions, these are all the ways you can reach me: through our website. There's a connect button there, or through my email, through my phone, or on LinkedIn, or like I said previously, on WhatsApp. You can reach me on all of those vehicles if you have any questions or you have any concern. Um, Somebody says, where do we send questions? You can send it to any of the vehicles. You can go to our website. There's a connect button there, simplifiedwealthbuilders.com, or you can send it to my email, ralph@gosimplify.com. If you send it through that, I'll definitely get that and respond back to you. Or you can go on WhatsApp, or you send me a question there. Whichever way, any of these vehicles that you use, I can respond to you on that. So again, I want to thank you all for your time, and looking forward. We have one more week to go next week, and we will finish out. And I hope this has been great and informative for you. And I appreciate the feedback, and Anthony and Ify, and thank you guys for your feedback. I appreciate that. It gives me great pleasure to do this. So again, I look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday for our last class. And it's going to be a great class, like all of them have been. I hope so. And if you have questions, meanwhile, during the week, reach out to me. But let me also say this to you. Probably within in the next hour or two, you're going to get another gift from me. You're going to get an email, and in the email is going to be, it's going to say, stress test your retirement. It's a simple thing. You answer you put in some information. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on your computer, and it will calculate and tell you right there within 10 minutes whether what you're doing right now is in enough money for you to retire. So look out for that email. It's gonna go out within the next 2 to 3 hours today after this meeting. And you can just click on it, stress test your retirement, click on it and answer the questions, and you can start to have an idea whether you're ready for retirement. And when you do that, if you have additional questions or you want us to go, because we have a more detailed way we can do it, you let me know. You have the opportunity to do that. But look for the email today. It's going to come out today, and just stress test your retirement and see where you stand. So again, thank you. And I hope once you get the email, you do that, stress test your retirement, so you can start to have an idea about where you are. Again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate everybody being on it. And I look forward to seeing all of you next week. Have a wonderful weekend.